everyone in Flosstube land, it is Chris and this is XrossStitch, and this is my third Flosstube video. It is June 1st, 2021. June, can you believe it? Wow, 6 months into the year already. It's gone by in a flash. I am so happy to be back with you this week. It's been another great week. I'm no less overwhelmed, flabbergasted, gobsmacked, for those of you across the pond, just with the response that my videos have been getting and the incredible outpouring of love and support that each and every one of you have been giving me. It's really brightened my life. And as I very briefly mentioned, I was in the performing arts for many years. My career was in the musical theater. I was a professional dancer, singer, actor. And of course, and I had been tapering off doing that for a few years, but was still active somewhat. And, you know, the pandemic could put a kibosh on all of my performing. So this has been a wonderful creative outlet for me, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited to continue with it, and if you'll have me, we'll keep going. So enough of that. Just know that I'm so grateful for all of your comments, for all of you who have subscribed. If this is your first time to my channel, this is about cross stitch, and I'm Chris Cross Stitch. But if you like what you see, press subscribe, stick around. It's an amazing journey, let me tell you. So, but thank you so much to each and every one of you. I actually work my computer with my foot because I'm sitting on a bar stool. And if you noticed in the last video, the moments when I look like I'm doing this, it's not that I'm on a ship or anything like that. It's that I get off the bar stool and then I get back on the bar stool and then I have to get settled. That reminds me of a story, but we'll get to that later. But I have to get settled. So I'll try not to be like a weeble. And that's another story. I'm dating myself again. Weeble, you know, remember Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down? It was a toy in the 70s. It was like an egg. It was basically an egg with a person painted on it. It wobbled. I'm dating myself. Nobody's going to know who that is. Anyway, so what is behind you, Christopher? That's one of the first things that I got asked last week. And by the way, if you ever want to ask me any questions, put them in the comments. I may even answer them on air. If I don't respond in the comments, that means I'm saving it. But what is behind me is a piece of driftwood, a huge piece of driftwood that is apparently teak, that was found washed up on a shore somewhere. It's mounted on a metal base and there's a light behind it and you turn it on at night. It's really beautiful, but that's what's behind me. A big piece of driftwood. I am not actually in the woods, although it looks like it, but that's what that is, to answer the question. And many of you complimented the painting, and we talked about color last time and I love it too. So thank you for that. I have to mention, I wish I could mention each and every person, because I literally take the time to write back comments, because I figure if you put the time to type me something, I should invest the time to say thank you and write back to you. But I have to mention a couple of other Flosstubers who mentioned me last week, who I really am so grateful for it. You're going to know both of these people. The first is Michelle of Michelle Bendy Stitchy, who, you know, talk about Flosstube gold standard people. She's amazing. Her channel is amazing. What she stands for is amazing. She's one of those spirit soothers for me. And If you're not following her, you must, but all of you probably are. But I just want to say thank you to her because her shout out meant a great, great deal to me. The other one is STITCHERMEL. STITCHERMEL is a fellow Southern Californian and a fellow born and bred Southerner, just like me. And she does beautiful, beautiful work. I just discovered her and have been watching her Flosstubes. And I hope one day we actually get to meet in person because I'm sure we're not very far from each other. So, but she gave me a shout out. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And that was STITCHERMEL. Also Sammie Liz, who is another floss tuber from Montana, she mentioned, gave me a shout out in her most recent video, and I wanted to thank her so much. And a little bit more about her and something she's doing that it was a synchronicity kind of moment, but we'll talk about that later. So that was Sammie Liz. There are a couple of new to me floss tubers that said hello over the weekend or the week that, again, are incredibly popular. Pam and Steph at JustKeepStitchin. Oh my gosh, those two are hysterical. I love them so much. They're just great. And Coffee Stitcher, Garrett at Coffee Stitcher reached out, and they were so nice. And I'm just very, and we messaged back and forth. And I also a fellow Wizard of Oz aficionado, so I'm just so thrilled to be making these connections and getting to know these wonderful people. So it's been a highlight. Sorry, you're getting a bird's eye view of my profile, of my part. To the good stuff, to the meat. Well, that was good, but this is to the meat stuff. I'm going to cut this section out. To the meat stuff. It makes me sound like a butcher. Anyway, I had to finish. Da-da-da. Boom. Bless this wretched hive of scum and villainy. I'm so excited about it. And as I mentioned in my last video, I've ordered a board that is shaped in the Millennium Falcon, in the shape of the Millennium Falcon that I'm going to mount this on. It is supposed to arrive today, and I'm so excited. And I'm going to paint it and do it all up. So when this is an FFO, see, I used another floss tube term there. When this is an FFO, I'll show it to you again. But I finished. I had to finish. Bless this wretched hive of scum and villainy. Yay. That's very exciting. I also had a start. I posted on Instagram, this was rather an enigmatic post on my Instagram account. I posted the colors of the floss because there were only like 8, and I figured everybody would know what they were, but I started my Prairie Schooler Santa. Yay! This is an interesting stitch because, again, I had never stitched on linen or anything else other than Aida before 2 weeks ago, and this is on a material called Davos or Davos. Please let me know how to say that. And it's interesting. It's very interesting to stitch on this. The needle feel is very delicate. See, I am going to coin a term for Flosstube if it kills me. Needle feel, that's one of them. Oh, and one of my commenters said that she'll never call it cross country anymore. She will now forever call it landscaping. See, I'm a giver. I give back to the community. Start Prairie Schooler Santa. I do have some works in progress. I'm not going to talk too much about winter today because I really didn't get that much more done on it. I'll show a picture of where it was last week. I did put some time into this, and I love working on it. You know, we talked last week about the pronunciation of the original artist of winter, who was a Art Nouveau Czechoslovakian famous painter by the name of Alphonse, M-U-C-H-A, and I was pronouncing it originally Mucha. I was told it was pronounced Mucha, And then another great commenter wrote me, Die Tryin, that's her handle or his handle or their handle, Die Tryin, which I think is great, sent me a YouTube link to that artist's grandson speaking at a museum symposium and pronounced the last name several times. Mucha. Mucha. You hear that little there? Like you get something caught in your throat? That's how he said it. So we've solved the mystery, at least for the time being. Alphonse, Mucha. Mucha. Excuse me. So a little bit more progress on my full coverage piece. I devoted more time to other things this week. Obviously, I started the Prairie Schooler Santa. That's my morning and evening stitch, my bedtime stitch. But my biggest project, my focus piece once again this week, was my Wizard of Oz Stitch Along. I just love it. We got the first chapter, and to those of you who said go ahead and frog out the mistake in the clouds, I did. I took it out. I did it. You know, what I do is I wait until I forget the pain of it, like childbirth. So I've been told I forget the pain of it, and then later I go back and I'll frog it out. And I did, and I fixed it, and I'm very happy that I did it. But we got the first chapter, and it's a couple of the Munchkins and Glenda, and I'm very excited about it. Cute, 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 cute little needle minder there. If you can see it without the glare. That needle minder is from Kim's Needle Minders on Etsy. I get all my needle minders from her so far. But this is a lot of fun to stitch. Again, I love the colors in it. A lot of back stitching in this first chapter. And I'm trying to not get behind because there's a lot of things going to kick into effect, which we're going to talk about in just a second, for the month of June. And now today begins the Quaker Christmas Stitch Along. That is being sponsored by the Proper Stitcher, Annie at the Proper Stitcher, and Artie at the Vintage Stitcher. And I also have mentioned that I'm going to do it, and I was planning on doing it with, I mentioned an evergreen Ada and a variegated Christmas thread. We talked about this in my previous video. I dyed some fabric because as I lay in bed and I ponder these things, I started getting worried about that dark green. And I thought, well, if I'm not going to do it on a dark green and I'm not going to do it on a red, what would I do it on? And I started thinking, well, a lot of the winter samplers and things that I see out there are sometimes done on a platinum gray or a really cool gray. And I started thinking, oh, that like the gray of a winter sky, that's really cool. I like that. So I ordered some white Ada and I ordered some Rit dye. And I dyed fabric yesterday and did a test stitch on it, and I'm glad I did. The fabric came out exactly as I wanted it to come out. I got the color. I have good news and bad news and good news and bad news. The good news is I got the color I wanted. The bad news is I test stitched, and I do indeed think that this, and you can tell this is a light gray. I do think that too much of the design will be lost if I stitch it in this Christmas story, DMC 4520 Christmas story, on this gray. I love, another piece of good news is I love how this stitches. And I do indeed think that the green is Kelly enough, it's enough of a Kelly Christmas green that on a dark evergreen, all of this motif will show. You can see I stitched the motif, and I had a fun time stitching it. This is an 18 count, and I used one strand, which I also really love because there's no, waffling about getting them lay right or anything. But, so we're gonna hold out for the evergreen. But this starts to, which I have not received yet. It'll get here. So I'm not beginning on time, but I've already started putting the work in for it. So I'm excited to do this Quaker Christmas stitch along. Not really a start, but that's a big plan, and it's starting today. So that's something that I'll be doing. And as soon as I get that evergreen fabric, I will begin on this, and I will be using this, and I promise you I'm gonna get that Wizard of Oz chapter done, and then I'm gonna knock this out. So I'm excited about it. But I'm not upset about this fabric. I dyed a whole piece that was much larger, was the size that I needed for the piece. And I really love the color. It's just this dove gray, this nice light gray, and I'll use it for something, for sure. I just won't be using it for the Quaker Christmas stitch along, but I'm excited to start on that. We are now scrolling the mouse with my big toe to move down the page, and it's not working, so I need to but with regard to the Quaker Christmas stitch along, Rochelle at the Cottage Needle on Etsy reached out to me, and she wanted to let me know that she had the silky threads for this. And I told her I'm going to do DMC, blah, 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 blah. But I said I would mention the fact that she has both Quaker Christmas 1 in PDF form in her Etsy shop, Quaker Christmas 2 in PDF form in her Etsy shop, and she has the full range of the called for colors if you choose to do that. So I told her that I would mention her on this video. So that's Rachel at the Cottage Needle on Etsy, and I will link her below. So now the big news. I started too late to catch hold of Mania, right? And it occurs to me after doing my intensive FlosStube research that you guys have a lot of stuff going at one time. And that excites me to a degree because, you know, participating in WhipGo and participating in, you know, some of you have spinners that you spin and these different things that you do. It's so much fun, and it's such a wonderful way to interact with people. So, but I don't have enough. I don't have enough yet. So what I've decided that I'm going to do is I'm going to be bold. I am creating a hashtag. I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could just, I don't know why I didn't know that. I mean, the whole hashtag concept to me is a little bit foreign. I mean, my experience with a hashtag was, it was that button you pushed, well, that you never pushed on your phone at the bottom, and we called it the pound sign. And my first telephone wasn't even a push button. It was one of those old black, heavy black handled receivers that if, you know, anybody broke into the house, you could hit them over the head with it and knock them out. With the cord it was a rotary dial, and it was attached to the wall. This concept of walking around with a phone, you just couldn't do it. But that's what we had in Alabama. We didn't get a push button phone until I was at least 9 years old, I guess. I'm dating myself, aren't I? Oh well, it doesn't matter. First Weebles, now the rotary phone. Surprising how good I look for my age, right? Anyway, where was I? Hashtag. I'm making a hashtag. This is all going somewhere because I've received so many suggestions in response to my request for Halloween designs from last week. So many of you submitted so many wonderful things. That's all I've done all week long. When I haven't been stitching or doing other things, I've been looking at Halloween patterns, and there's so many, and they're all so great. What I'm going to do is create the hashtag SpookySummerStitch. Hashtag SpookySummerStitch. And my June is going to be devoted to all Halloween starts. And if everybody does Christmas in July, why can't we do Halloween in June? At least the stitching of it. So hashtag SpookySummerStitch. If you want to stitch along on whatever Halloween project you're doing with me, because I'm going to be doing several, use that hashtag. And we can see what everybody's doing. The 3 pieces after, and so many people, I was going to mention who suggested these, but these were like multiple people suggested or these 3 that I'm going to let you vote on as my big Halloween piece for this year. The 3 candidates for that are Halloween Quaker by Lila's Studio. So many of you suggested that. So many of you have already stitched it, and I love it. I would love to do that one. All 3 of these I want to do, so I'm happy with whatever you guys choose. But entry number 1 for my Spooky Summer Stitch, Halloween in June, is Halloween Quaker by Lila's Studio. The second is a gorgeous pattern by Glendon Place called Sleepy Hollow. And I'm putting all of these up as I discuss them. This is taking over haul for me this week because all my haul was online. But number 2 is Sleepy Hollow by Glendon Place. If you want me to stitch that, you can vote for that. And the third one is Trick or Treat by the Prairie Schooler. I love that one. It's a little bit outside of what I normally would do because it's monochrome. But I love it. I think it's adorably cute. And that would be, that may be a little bit smaller. I don't remember if that's one of the larger ones or one of the smaller ones, but Trick or Treat by the Prairie Schooler, that's the third one. But in addition to whichever one you choose for me, I'm also going to stitch a lot of smalls, a lot of Halloween smalls, and I'm going to start these all over the month of June. The first is another Satsuma Street design that I loved it. I thought it was adorable and I just bought it, and it's Halloween Cat. It's really colorful. It's really, it's just cute. And I'll be stitching on 2 Satsuma Street pieces at the same time, but I don't care because they're just gorgeous. The other one is one by Michelle Bendy Stitchy that I just love. It's the cutest stinking thing ever. Hilda's Hayride. When I saw that toad pulling that wagon, it was another, okay, I've got to have this. You know how some things you put in your favorites and then you think about them and you think about them and then you go back and you finally buy them? No, this was a click. This was like, yep, got to do that one. I'm going to stitch that one. The other one that I'm going to start is A Stitcher Haunts Here by the Witchy Stitcher. And it was just cute. There are 2 colorways for this. There's one is more of a monochrome neutrals, and the other is colorful with the light coming through the windows and some purples and what have you, but it's just adorable. I'm going to be stitching that one in the colorful colorway. And then a big long-term project that I will be starting. And incidentally, Stitcher Liz, Pumpkin Creek Primitives, and Memphis Sarah E are also starting this. That's how she gets looped back into this floss tube. They're starting this weekend. This is not a stitch along necessarily. I mean, they're doing it as a stitch along. I'm just kind of crashing their party to a degree. Because when Stitcher Liz reached out, she mentioned that she was doing it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to announce on my video that I'm going to do this as a long-term piece. I didn't make it one of the ones to vote on because I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to, I know I'm going to start it, but it's enormous. And it's going to, my goal for that is to be done with it by Halloween of next year. But I'm getting it kitted up, and all these things I'm going to be kitting up over the week and starting them throughout the month of June. So that is my plan for a spooky summer stitch. Hashtag Spooky Summer Stitch. What goal? What hubris to start your own hashtag. I can't believe I'm doing it. I'm interested to see, probably 3 people. 3 people will use it. But that's okay. You watch. It'll go viral, and then I'll be bowled over. Hashtag spooky summer stitch. So those are my June plans. It's kind of my own little mini mania, except in June and for Halloween. So I remembered when I began this a few weeks ago, when I began this foray into my cross-stitching future, I remembered very specifically the first pattern that I ever stitched. And I thought to myself, you know, I bet you I can find that on eBay or Etsy or someplace. I bet you I can find it. Because I knew that it would also date the first year that I began cross-stitching and let me know what age I was. So I went online, I typed in a few random keywords, and immediately it popped up. And I ordered it. And I waited, and it didn't come, and it didn't come, and it didn't come. So I got a refund, and I ordered it from another vendor, and it came. Unfortunately, in the mailbox along with it was the first one that had been delayed. So long story, I now have 3 of the 4 seasons by Leisure Arts from 1980, 1980. I was 9 years old, and there we go. Talk about dating myself. If you can do the math, you can figure it out. In 1980, I was 9 years old, and I did this winter. Again, I've always been winter, something about winter. I did this one and have no idea where it is now. And I don't even think I really finished it. But I can't tell you how much it means to me to have this. It's not the actual one that I had, but it's very special. And I'm going to put these 2 in my stash for giveaways. Now, I haven't started those yet, and I probably won't until I hit like a, you know, like I said, a milestone subscriber level. But I'm going to put these into my giveaway because the patterns in them, they are very old school cross stitch, but I love them. I mean, these ovals here are quite pretty. These seasonal ovals. And then there's another range of them. There are actually 4 different sets of seasonal things that you can all do together. I'm even thinking about stitching these 4 in one big sampler, like creating my own chart for one big sampler. But the 2 of these will go into and will be part of my very first giveaway. My first giveaway based on my first pattern that I ever cross-stitched. And I think that'll be a whole lot of fun. People do May recaps or end of month recaps. So here is mine. I started Flosstube. I had a couple of finishes. I finished Snoopy Chef. I finished Bless This Wretched Hive. I began, and then everything else starts. But the big thing is that I began this Flosstube journey that I'm loving. It has enriched my life beyond measure. And to hear that in some small way that you listened to me over your coffee and I made you giggle, that makes me very happy. It makes me feel like I'm doing something. It makes me feel like I'm doing something good, and I'm being a good human being. So, I get emotional really quickly. So thank you. Thank you for continuing to support me. Thank you for liking and subscribing and commenting and giving me instruction on how to pronounce Czechoslovakian painters and all that. I really, it's appreciated. It's appreciated. So go out there find your Halloween patterns, have a hashtag spooky summer stitch with me. And I will see you next week with hopefully a lot more fun stuff having started. Keep your fingers crossed that my evergreen fabric comes out.